Have you ever skipped a tip, returned a gift, or brought your own snacks to an event, thinking you were just being smart with your money? Now, there's a fine line between being frugal and being cheap, and today we're walking straight down the middle of it. And in this episode, we're going to be challenging your money mindset and maybe even sparking a few debates here along the way. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to today's show. I am Brad Nelson, the founder of Debt Free Dad. I paid off about $45,000 of debt. I've been debt free now for more than 12 years. I've also been fortunate to help thousands of other people save and pay off tens of millions of dollars with the work that we do here at Debt Free Dad.
And I'm Amber Taylor, and my husband and I saved and paid off $54,000 in just 20 months and have been living debt-free outside of our mortgage.
I'm Ryan Nelson, and my wife and I paid off $160,000 over 8 years while we were raising 3 kids.
So guys, after listening to this episode, if you are ready to take things to the next level, you're ready to break free from living paycheck to paycheck, you want to reduce financial stress, build a savings, and finally start paying off your debt for good, but maybe you're just not quite sure where to get started, we've created some incredible free resources here at Debt Free Dad that can help you get there, and we'll be sharing some more details about those later on in today's episode. So guys, today the debate is about frugal versus cheap, and I got to say right off the bat, when people hear, or even our social media content, or here we live debt free, or I have no debt, they immediately will have this stereotype that I am frugal or I am cheap. And maybe you guys have shared that same experience, but it's almost an immediate thing. Well, you must not have any fun, or you must not like to spend any money. And I got to say, I think that's like the furthest thing from the truth. And that's why I love this conversation today.
Yeah, I'm super cheap with some stuff, just so you know.
Well, I'm excited.
I think it depends. It depends what I value. So like I'm cheap with some stuff, not cheap with other stuff. It all depends on my values.
Well, I think that's the key right there. It's based on your values. And I think, man, when I was thinking about this and I'm like looking at my life, I don't feel like there's an area that I'm frugal or cheap with. It's just, I just don't spend any money on things I don't care about anymore. That's the thing. Like, people might look at that and say, well, I care about that. You don't spend money on that. That means you're frugal or you're cheap. And it just means, no, I just don't really care. Like vehicles, for instance, for years and years and years. And even today, I really don't care too much about the vehicle I drive, just as long as it's reliable and it can get me to where I want to go. But if it's got some rust and some scratches and some dings and the interior isn't so great. In fact, the pickup truck I just recently sold, the ceiling fabric was coming down in some areas. I just didn't care. It wasn't, I guess I don't call it frugal or cheap. It's just like you said, Amber, I just don't necessarily put a ton of value into having like a pristine vehicle. It just, as long as it runs, right? And it gets me to where I need to go. So in saying that, there's a real difference between being smart with your money and letting money control your life. And like frugality in my mind is being more intentional, whereas cheapness is more, I don't know that I would say fear-based, but it's just, man, you're just being cheap right now. Ryan, you said there's things that you're cheap in. So I want to go through this a little bit and talk about some of these examples. I've written up some examples here from people that I know have done these things. Some of them I've done. And I'm just curious to see what ones you're going to put in. So Ryan, I'm going to let you, because you already said there's a lot of things that you're cheap with.
I think a big area for me is, it used to not be, but I think it's just, you may have seen those reels or those TikToks. It's when you graduate to thinking the clothes at Costco look nice. And it's like, I don't care. I have shirts and pants and stuff. There's certain things that I'll look at pictures, and we'll look at pictures and I'm like, oh my God, I've had that for 5 years. And some people would say that's cheap, but I do think, after you kind of explained it, I think it does go back to that. And again, I don't have things that are terrible. It's not things that are just torn up or all that. I just don't find a lot of value in going and buying nice clothes. Now, when I was younger, I did. I used to go to the mall. I used to want to have, this and that. But I think as I've gotten older, there's just certain things. It's like, and again, part of it is just like, I go to the store, you go to the mall. It's like, I'm not spending $80 on a pair of pants. I'm sorry. I just can't do it, and it's just hard for me. And so some people would say that's cheap. To some degree, it probably is, because some of the other stuff maybe doesn't fit as well and maybe doesn't look as perfect, but I just don't care. I'm okay being cheap in that area in my life.
Yeah,
I think that's an age thing too.
Yeah, yes. Right. Age thing, and is that just a man thing too? There's a lot of men that I know that are that way. They could care less. Like I have a friend of mine. His name's Tim. I'm gonna call him out right now. and this dude, I swear, I'm kind of similar to you, Ryan. I'll buy nicer clothes and things. Obviously not like super nice, I guess, in terms of expensive. I don't want to have like just grubby clothes all the time, but this guy goes to the extremes. Like he wears things that have holes in them constantly, and just, things that he needs to replace, socks, like his socks mismatch. And it's like, that is to the extreme of cheap. He even admitted, like, I've had underwear that I've had for years and years and years. It's like, okay, there's a point of where you're being, again, smart with money. And then there's a point where it's like, yikes, right?
I don't know. That's a man thing. Like, sometimes I throw out my husband's underwear. I'm like, you still wearing these? Ew. And I throw them out. So it happens. I mean, he has gotten better at throwing out his holy socks and stuff. But I'm super frugal when it comes. I'm not going to say cheap, because when it comes to shopping for clothes and stuff, super frugal. And I love bargains, and I love going to like thrift stores and stuff like that. So yeah,
Right.
I'm not buying full price clothes. Very rarely am I buying full price clothes.
I think there are things that I'm willing to spend some money on, though, when it comes to like things like clothes. Like when I buy a pair of shoes, I don't buy a cheap pair of shoes. Like I will buy $120 pair of shoes. But even for some people, they're probably like, well, that's not really that expensive, right? But for me to spend $100 to $120 on a pair of shoes, like I know that pair of shoes is going to last me a year or two as long as I take care of them. Right?
And I buy $10, $20 pairs of shoes.
Yeah. Well, right. And again, like if you're a female, right, you got outfits and things that you wear. Like you would never buy like one color, specific pair of shoes and probably spend, well, there might be some people out there who might do it, where you'd spend hundreds of dollars on that pair of shoes. Like you're going to go to a cheaper shoe store because you're only going to wear them for a couple of events here and there. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that terms, I think you're being smart. Like for me too, pair of jeans, like Ryan, now you mentioned like you don't spend a lot of money on a pair of jeans. Like I will, I'll spend $100 because I'm going to wear that pair of jeans a lot because I don't have a lot of pairs of them and they last, and I know that they're not going to fall apart on me. So I think there are some things when it comes to like clothing items, I'm definitely not cheap on. Same thing like when it comes to like vehicles. If you're going to buy tires, I don't always elect for the cheapest tires that I can find. Now, again, if your budget only allows you for that's one thing. But if you're doing it and you have the money to spend on more quality tires, in my opinion, you should get the more quality tires because they're going to last you longer. So I think there is this balance of cheap and frugal. Any other ones that you guys have where you feel like you're really, really cheap on?
You know what happens to us often is I'm super cheap. DIY projects, like I'm like, no, we could do that.
Yeah.
And then we end up spending way more or have to call somebody to fix it. So like,
yeah,
sometimes it bites us in the butt. Sometimes it works out, but
yeah, that's a big one. Like right now we're getting ready to just like minor updates in our bathrooms. And there are things that I could do, but I'm thinking in my head is if this gets messed up, it's going to cost me way more money to have someone come in and fix it versus just say, spend the money and have them come in and do it. There are certain projects that I tend not to get involved with, especially when it comes to like plumbing and things like that. I can do minor stuff, but man, plumbing is not my thing. Anytime I've ever tried to do it, it doesn't go well. So I've learned my lesson. It's like, it's better just to bring in a professional and just have them do the work. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit of money for that, but it saves me time and the frustration and having to figure it out myself. So I think, when it comes to DIY, I think you have to balance out like, what are the risks if this does not go well? And is it worth it to be cheap or more frugal to do it yourself? But, you talk about things like painting and light fixture change outs and things like that. Like those things are, super easy to do. But when you get into the more of the mechanicals of things, it can get interesting for sure. So let's run down a few other ones, guys. So here's a good one. Ryan, I don't know if you remember this. I remember Grandma used to do this, taking extra condiments and supplies from restaurants to bring to the house. So like, I remember Grandma like taking the sugars and taking the extra ketchup packets or extra silverware and all that stuff from restaurants and putting them in her purse. And I remember Mom yelling at her, "You can't do that. You can't do that." Well, yes, I can. I paid for the food.
I will admittedly say I have filled a ketchup bottle at my house with packets.
So you have definitely crossed the line of cheap.
I have crossed the line of cheap. Yes. I mean, we were struggling, but so I made it work. I got half a ketchup bottle.
Right.
And it takes some commitment.
Right?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not throwing these out. This is going in my bottle.
Oh, too funny. Yeah, that's a good one. Here's another one. We've talked a little bit about this one on the show, but buying name brand food ingredients versus buying generic. Now, this is a good debate.
It depends on what it is.
It depends on, I agree. It depends on what it is. There are just some things, like I'm all about Aldi here in the United States. I mean, I love Aldi. You can save some good money, but there are some things at Aldi that I won't buy at Aldi because it just doesn't taste quite the same as like a name brand ingredient.
Yeah. Like mustard is mustard to me. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Ketchup, I think I got to go Heinz for the most part. Peanut butter here in Canada, it's got to be Kraft. Kraft peanut butter. I can't buy any other peanut butter.
Yeah, peanut butter can get interesting.
Yeah.
And ketchup can too. It just depends. I'm sure people have bought the Catsup brand.
That's only on your side of the border.
It's a little bit different than the regular ketchup, right?
Yeah. This is a big one for me here too. Number one, I love to cook, and I'm all about trying to save some money. I don't want to call people out, but I have had people where I go and I make something at their house with the stuff they've bought. And there is a 100% noticeable difference in taste and texture and how it is. And it's like, this doesn't quite taste like yours. And it's bottom line, it's because of that. There are just certain things depending on what you're making. And I do think like this goes into like cooking. If you do cook and you are trying to save money, don't always just go for cheap, because cheap might be like, this isn't very good. Whereas if you just spend a little more, and like you, Aldi has great things. All stores have great things. And then there's just certain things that I've learned that I don't buy. There's certain butter I buy. There's certain flour I buy. There's certain things I buy that I know make the stuff taste the way it should taste. People do, I think, buy a lot of, go to the store and try to be as frugal or cheap as possible. And then they're just like, this isn't as good. But if you just change the ingredients, you'd be surprised. Oh, this completely changes the taste of this.
Right. Yeah, and you do have to kind of go on a little bit of an adventure of trying things. Like some of our, we have kids in our house, and they don't like generic brands, certain snacks and things because they taste different. But for some odd reason, they love the generic brand of string cheese versus the name brand string cheese, which is so strange to me. For me, for coffee, like I don't go out for coffee unless I'm on travel, right? So I loved Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And when I was living paycheck to paycheck, that was a place that I would stop and frequent and get my coffee there. Well, I don't do that anymore. I just make it at home. So I buy Dunkin' Donuts coffee because I like it, right? But it is more expensive than obviously a lot of the generic brands or some of the brands that aren't as popular. But I'm willing to spend the money there because I like it. So I guess you could say I'm frugal in the sense that I'm not going to go out for coffee, but I'm not going to completely give it up. And I'm just going to meet it halfway and at least buy the coffee and just make it at home. Here's another one. Bringing your own snacks to a movie theater or event. Okay, I'm guilty.
It's frugal. Who wants to spend that much money? It's more than the movie.
Right.
To buy their snacks.
To buy it all. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who hasn't done this? I mean, I think we can all agree that this is being very frugal. And heck, there's even been times I've even brought a cocktail to the movie. They don't know what's in that cup. Here's one I can't. Oh, man, this one irks me, but not tipping at a restaurant to save money. Big negative. You should not be doing this. If you can't tip and go out to a restaurant, you should not be going to that restaurant.
Right.
Yeah, that's just a no-brainer. We have friends who are, bartenders or waitresses or waiters, and they share these stories. Some people just don't tip. That's crazy to me. If you go to a service type establishment, like you have to expect that you're going to tip. So yes, you are being cheap if you're not tipping. Now it's one thing, I guess, if you get horrendous service. And I think there's probably maybe only one or two times in my lifetime that I can think of that I probably didn't tip because of that. But I made them very aware of it. It wasn't like something I just kind of left them in the dark about. I mean, they knew, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I can understand those particular situations, but if you're getting halfway decent service, like you should be leaving a tip.
I'm going to throw one in here and it goes with that because I drive DoorDash is you shouldn't be ordering DoorDash if you don't want to tip either.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a huge debate on social media. And I'm not going to sit here and say what you should tip or how much you should tip. But if your intention is to not tip, then you shouldn't be ordering it. I feel like that's cheap. And regardless of how those people are paid or, I don't do it to rely on the money. I do it for extra money. Regardless of how they're paid or what you think or whatever, it doesn't matter. You are not having to go out to wherever it is that you ordered it from. They're bringing it to you. As long as everything's right, you should tip something.
Now, don't you have to tip when you order, though?
Yeah, you typically tip ahead, and then you can modify it afterward if you had to.
Are you finding that people do that? They'll put a tip on there and then they modify it and take it off?
No, I don't really run into it a lot. I would say the vast majority of people have tipped. I think there's only been a handful of times where they don't. But the argument out there is, you choose to do that job, so therefore I shouldn't have to tip. And it's like, let's just being cheap.
Yeah, right.
You say that to a waitress, you say it to everybody. Like, you choose to do that job, I don't have to tip you. What? That's not how it works.
Yeah, that's not how it works. Yeah, we've done a whole episode, by the way, on tipping. Has it gone to extreme levels for certain things? But yeah, when it comes to a service business or a hospitality type business, I mean, tipping is just a known thing. You got to figure that in my opinion. Don't be cheaping out and not doing those things. Right. I wish Katie was on the episode for this one, but using a coupon on the first date, eek, I don't know. I guess I don't know. This is walking a line. This is more than frugal or being cheap. This is like first impressions type stuff, right? I don't know. What do you guys think? Did you throw out a coupon on the first date?
I don't think so.
It's so hard because, like, I'd say, like, when I was younger, no. Now that I'm the age I'm at, I'm thinking, like, if for whatever reason I found myself where I had to be dating again, I'd be like, I just don't care anymore. I mean, I don't know. I think it depends. I would not call that a hard no or whatever. I just,
Well, I love a good coupon. It's the first date part that's questionable.
Yeah. Maybe the second date.
Yeah.
I think it's more first impressions for me rather than being frugal or cheap. I don't know that I want to put that first impression out there right away. I bought this coupon, buy one, get one. Oh, here's another one. Filling up on free samples at Costco or like a Sam's Club and calling it lunch.
Check. Yep. Let's do it.
I think anyone who's a Costco or Sam's Club member, yep, that's what we're all in there for. That's why they do it, to get you in there. But crazy enough, you're really not being frugal because every time I go do that, I'm leaving with $200 to $300 worth of stuff in my car.
Absolutely. So I mean, what's a little lunch?
Pretty sure Costco's winning in that one.
Yeah, my favorite is these 12-pack of kielbasa's are only $5.98, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying them. That's what I pretty much do. It's like you kind of have that look on your eye, like, oh, interesting, and in your head, you're like, I'm not buying that.
Do you ever feel somewhat guilty though when you're sitting there and you're eating, you're like, yeah, this is really good, and they're telling you about the sale, and you just kind of wander off.
Right, exactly.
Thanks. No,
thanks for the free food. I'm out.
I have no guilt there, no shame.
You're just on to the next one.
Yep. What's next?
Or how about the ones you like try and you're just like, that's gross. All right, next one. Wearing designer knockoffs. This is definitely not up my alley because I don't care less. But
I don't really care. I mean, again, I shop at thrift stores and stuff. So if something happens, there's a knockoff there and it looks nice and it fits nice, I'm buying it. I don't care. Yeah, right. I don't think it's cheap, but I'm not buying it for the name either. So
right. Packing lunch every day instead of eating out with the coworkers. Oh, this one's easy for all of us. I'm going frugal on that one. That's a good choice, especially if you're wanting to save money and get out of debt. Buying the absolute cheapest toilet paper that falls apart.
That's cheap.
That's cheap for sure.
I only got to deal with that at work. You go to work. Work's got the 1-ply stuff that's good for the
right.
You're ripping off all the
right, exactly.
Well, that's just it, right? You're using way more. They're probably spending just as much because people are using way more of it.
Right.
Yeah. All right. And then last one we got as an example is lying about your child's age to get them in for free or at a cheaper price.
Yeah. You can only do this for so long because the kids at least. No, I'm not. I'm this age. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's cheap.
And that's the worst when they do that. Yeah, she's only 5. I'm 6. Shut up.
Yeah.
I think that's cheap.
I think it's cheap, but I've definitely done it. I'm not gonna lie. And granted, it's not like I'm, saying they're 5 years younger than what they really are. They're like right on the line. It's like, yeah, we can let this one slide, right? So in ending this, guys, I think it goes back to what you said, Amber, about value. And I think that's where you really got to evaluate cheap versus being frugal. And I think that's what we talk a lot about on the show is that, just because you don't want to buy something or participate in something, or you're willing to save some money in certain areas, it doesn't necessarily mean you're cheap. It just means that your values have changed. And I think it's like, what I said when I opened it up, people immediately will put the stereotype on you that you're being cheap or frugal when you're debt free, or you wanting to improve your finances, or you're living on a budget. And the reality is that you're just becoming more intentional, with your spending. But there definitely can be that fine line of, are we being really cheap here to save money or get out of debt? Or are we being more intentional and being frugal? All right, guys, if you're ready to break free from living paycheck to paycheck, you want to reduce financial stress, you want to build savings and finally pay off debt for good, but again, you're not sure where to get started, don't worry, we've got you covered. Simplify My Money is sent each and every Sunday to your email. It is your step-by-step roadmap to better financial control, and you're also going to learn some easy-to-follow strategies to manage your money effectively. Stress-free money decisions that are going to help you simplify your financial life with proven tips that work. And you're going to gain the tools and the confidence to tackle your financial goals head on. You can sign up for Simplify My Money by clicking on the link at the top of the show notes. Thanks for joining us on today's show, and we will see you guys on the next episode.